The Browns started in 1946. It was going into World War II. A lot of teams, there were only 8 NFL teams, and a lot of NFL players ended up in the service. And plus, guys that were seniors or underclassmen in college entered World War II that could have gone into the NFL. So when they came out of World War II, there were literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men that either played in the NFL or could have played in the NFL. So there was another league started called the All-American Football Conference, and it had 8 teams in it. And one of them was awarded to a man named Mickey McBride, who was a Cleveland native that owned 2 taxi cab companies. At the same time, the NFL still had the Cleveland Rams. Cleveland Rams won the 1945 NFL championship, but the Cleveland AAFC team by Mickey McBride hired Paul Brown to be their head coach. Well, at the time, Paul Brown was the most famous sports-oriented person in the country. He had coached Ohio State, won a national championship. He coached Massillon High School. He was from Massillon. He won 6 high school championships, and everybody knew Paul Brown. Well, the Rams had wanted to leave Cleveland and go to Los Angeles for 2 years. The NFL owners wouldn't let them because of travel, because back then it was by train or bus. But in 1946, started air travel. So the NFL owners allowed the Rams to move to L.A., plus with the new Cleveland team coming in, coached by Paul Brown, Rams didn't want any part of that. In fact, the Rams played at Citi Field, which housed 27,000. They didn't play at Muni Stadium. They only played in Muni Stadium when they played like the Giants or the Bears, where they could get 50, 60,000 people. So they didn't even use the Indian Stadium for their home games. The new Cleveland team right off rented that stadium. We're not playing in this small stadium. We're playing in this big stadium. So they were preparing for that. So now the Rams are gone. Mickey McBride ran a name the team contest, and what won was Panthers. So this team that we all pull for was going to be called the Cleveland Panthers. Well, there was another Cleveland Panthers team that played in the 19s and the 20s and the early 30s. And when that was announced in the paper, a man came forward and said, I own the trademarks to that, but I'll lease it to you. Well, Mickey McBride came from poor surroundings. He knew he could name his team anything he wanted to. So he said, nah, I'll pass. So in the meantime, people like us would go to practice, and we'd get around at work and we'd say, have you seen Paul Brown's team practice today? No, I'm going to see Paul Brown's team on Saturday. So everybody started calling it Paul Brown's team. So eventually McBride said to Paul Brown, let's name it the Browns. Coach Brown said no, then he relented. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
So that's how that got started. So they ended up being called the Cleveland Browns.